Hey guys, welcome back to Etheria Restart. In today's video, Pridewind have updated their damage calculations for all the characters based on the changes in the patch notes that we just got. Now, if you were watching when I did my my buffs and nerf video when we were going through all the changes of the characters, I was absolutely amazed that they actually buffed this raw damage of who was already showing to be the best single target damage dealer with Chloros and the best AoE damager with Jada. I thought that was absolutely amazing to me, but it's happened. So let's go through this. Now, there is a chance that maybe the calculations are a little bit off or something like that, but we already saw Chloros at the end of the beta being absolutely dominant, especially in guild boss areas. Not so much when we had the water boss. That's obviously going to be a downfall, but also he was doing amazing things in the wolves as well. So he's just an absolute monster, and as you can see, like with the buff he got, there's also some changes. I'll go through the change log in a second, but I want to talk about this because this is actually crazy. I think Chloros may be one of those units that, especially if you're trying to push guild boss and be a competitive guild, he's going to be very important. Now, you can mercenary, so there is that side of things as well, but for me, if I get the units that I want for my first, 150, 200 pulls, I'm considering maybe getting the Chloros. Now, when a lot of people since the team at Nerf have been asking me, who am I going to take for my selector? Honestly, it 100% depends on the pulls I get along the way. I don't think there is a hard and fast rule of who to take from that selector. I may do a whole other video going deeper into that and the different scenarios, but I don't think there's a hard and fast rule. But I definitely think if you get some decent units that you're happy with to get into your Inferno progression, I think Chloros could be a very, very big target. And for me, Jada is a big target that I'm considering just in general. I think she's going to be great across the board, and I have some teams that I really think she's going to be good in, but once again, I will elaborate more on this stuff in other videos. But the buffs came in, so let's take a look at the changes to the damage calculations and some of the stuff that happened. Now, they do have a full changelog here. All characters have gained 10 speed baseline at 6-star rank, rising the sustained single target and AoE damage. So everyone got a bit of a damage boost in general because they're all getting 10 extra speed, which is going to have an impact. Now, White Fang did get a nerf, so they have swapped White Fang. A lot of these situations, you will see White Fang being replaced. So White Fang getting replaced by, I can't even remember the name, by Count, because Count is the one that gives an attack buff before you attack, whereas White Fang does the damage after you attack, but then also does the crit damage buff. Now, in long drawn out fights, in the sustained single target especially, you'll probably still be using the White Fang. Its damage is still good, and that crit damage buff is just huge. But in the burst rotations, they move to Count, because with the burst rotations are basically just, you fully buff yourself, you fully debuff the enemy, and then you do one attack, or in the situation of the Yarn, because she's going to steal Fern full turn meter for herself, she does the ult and skill. That's why she's got the boast there. But in that situation, you're going to use Count because that you're only doing one hit. You don't get the crit damage to stack. So that is the general thing there. Then they go through everyone and how they changed with, all the different buffs and nerfs that happen along the way. I don't want to go too deep into all the individual, like saying, this one got a little change, but you can see it's basic stuff like additional 10% ultimate multiplier factored into all rotations. I don't think that's the raw ultimate multiplier. I believe that's the 10% they were talking about on the additional hits of her ultimate multiplier. So there's all those things that come in, but all the balances there are there if you want to check it out. But once again, I do think that Chloros is an absolute monster of an option now. I honestly really want to get him to even test him in PvP, because I just read his kit and didn't think it was synergistic to the PvP playstyle at launch, but maybe in RTA he could do things. He's just a threat of getting clapped super early and then just having just not having his damage throughput. But I guess a lot of DPS are in that same situation, so maybe this guy just really ramps up across the board. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm really liking the look of this guy. If you don't know what he does, the main thing is that he has this doom tool that he puts on an enemy, and every time they're hit, every 10 times they're hit, and multi-hits activate this faster, he will go ahead and use his ultimate on them. So he is a monstrous damage dealer, and that ult did get a buff. So that is what was ridiculous. He was already showing to be the top single target DPS. And now, as you can see, if we look at Rosa here, who is the second best, she's only doing 57% of his damage. Now, keeping in mind, this is at max skills. So when they calculate this, it is max skill, 0 dupe. So, you know, some of your lower, your SR units might perform better on other accounts because, let's say, you know, someone like Rin or Fangus, you have more dupes into them, easier to get the cubes into them, so they can actually climb up in these rankings in this type of situation. The other thing is, keep in mind with poisons, they don't land on things like guild boss, so you're going to lose a bit of damage on poison dealers as well. So just some of those things to consider, but really, Chloros, the big winner in the single target damage. Rahu, who was already really solid, getting a boost as well. Not only does Rahu have the damage, he also has a good chunk of support with his defense buff, with his shield. If you put the shielding shell on him. Now, for these damage calcs, I don't believe it is, unless it is for the defense. Let's see if they've actually got the builds here. Okay, what have they got? Yeah, so they do have Artisan in here as an option. I'm not sure if it's in the damage calcs, but yeah, Artisan is a great option for him for that shielding capabilities. And if we want to go down to the biggest loser in this one, I definitely think it is going to be the only one in the red, and that is Victor. Victor looking absolutely disgusting in sustained single target damage. Now, his burst is another situation, but this dude does feel like he got absolutely gutted. If we go to single target burst down here, you can see he has lost 20% of his burst damage, which was the big thing about him. Me in the beta in RTA, I was hard carried by Victor because he was the only other DPS I had built besides Tiamat, and Tiamat was always getting banned. So this guy was just jumping in and one-shotting enemies. I really don't think he's going to be able to do that anymore in the state that I was in the beta. So I'm going to have to pull some DPS options when we get there. You can see he's just single target burst, just 8 there. Now, a lot of discussion has been around D-Ting versus Victor. I definitely think D-Ting is the better general option at the moment. Victor still does have some more survivability, but... And I think he's probably, I don't know if he's still going to be better in PvP. I'm not too sure, just because of that survivability factor. Didn't can snipe. I feel like he was a good counter to Tiamat because Tiamat would sacrifice HP and then he could put his mark on her and snipe, but he's not going to be crazy in PvP at all. But I think the big telling stories here are going to be the sustained single target and sustained AoE. So single target because this is going to be very important for your guild boss, for the wolves fight and stuff like that. Getting maximum damage to get all the rewards out of there. And once again, Chloros just... honestly, those numbers are insane. Like I said, he's definitely one that I'm keeping my eye on for that endgame type PvE play. And then it's just the reason I'm really liking Jada at the moment too is because she is neutral to Doki and she is positive against the Aurora, which are the two dungeons that I want to get into. Ideally for me in progression, when I unlock Hell mode, I want to farm Hell for Doki until level 50, and then I would love to switch to Inferno of Aurora. Whether I can, I'm not too sure, but I feel like a team with Jada is able to do that because she has the big sustained AoE damage, which when you look to entry level Doki teams, having that steady AoE is going to be a really nice way to chip them down and break them apart. And then when you move to the Aurora, she has the advantage. So even though she's more AoE based, her single target damage isn't disgusting. So she's going to get max stack there and just continually hit into that. Plus I'm rerolling for Lily. So if I have Lily and Jada, when Lily basic attacks, Jada will use her basic attack, which has a chance to strip the buff off of Aurora as well. So I just think she has some of that synergy that I'm still like, theory crafting in the background here, trying to think of my options on what I go for. But I do think Jada is one I would be super hyped to see in my pools at the moment, just the way things are panning out. Chloros is one of those ones I'm not going to really use the guy early game, but for the late game, once again, he is going to be a fantastic pool. So all those things are going through my head on options that we do have. But once again, 21.3% buff there, 10% buff here. The big damage dealers are getting a big buff in general. Like I said, everyone getting that speed buff, so everyone's going to have a slight damage increase in general. And then Victor being the massive loser here, who just gets absolutely nuked in every aspect that he can, and his damage is really looking quite lackluster in general. When you look to burst damage, where we have, obviously he's neutral element, so that's a benefit to him, but we have old Sutoma, who, let's face it, we don't really see this guy too much. He's got his block, he's got his wound, but you know, he ain't doing too much, but he's almost at the range of Victor's damage. A lot of these guys getting lower damage on their burst due to that nerf to the White Fang. And then if we go over here, old mate is actually beating Victor in sustained damage. So it ain't looking good for Victor, but hell, it's looking good for Chloros and Jada. Let me know what you guys think. What are you guys thinking for what character you guys want to go for, either from your selector or you're hoping to pull from the standard pulls? Once again, the selector, I'm still leaning towards trying to save it as long as possible. There's just so many good units. I was chatting about this in the Discord earlier. When we go to SSRs and you look through this roster, there isn't many that I'm not happy to see. I think a lot of people would say Selene, but I do think she's going to be a sleepy unit that is going to have viability. And then, yeah, I think my head's not blocking anyone. Shadow Sanya's the other one people will say, but everyone else, like, you look at Beonton, massive buffs, Born, really good damage, good tankiness. Doki Doki is going to be great to have on your account. Freya, solid in general. Heinrich, amazing. Hellkid, great shields. Hoyan, I wish she was in the game. Chloros, absolute monster for damage. Kloss, amazing support. Liam, we all get. Lilith, great for Doki Doki, great stun control and stuff like that. Lily, don't even get me started. Lingluo, you don't want to pull her, you just want to get her from your 7-day, but hey, it is what it is. Messiah, beast AoE for Arena especially. Mia looking fantastic, getting that cooldown reduction on her strip as well. Great. Mio, enough said, control, just super control. Rahu, absolute monster. Rilmoka, just Doki key. I don't think Rilmoka is one I would... No, I'd still be happy to do that. We just clapped Doki. What am I talking about? I'm thinking about if I had Mio. I'm like, I feel like if I had Mio, I wouldn't really need Rilmoka because I could just use any DPS. But no, Rilmoka is still a good pull. Rosa still amazing. I don't think I'm leaning towards her at all now for the selector. I just think, you know, we've got other options that we can go for now. When we look at charts, Tiamat, hey, I'm still on board with the Tiamat. Don't worry. If I pull her, I'm definitely building her. Tsukiyomi, absolutely amazing support. Veronica basically did the full circle. They nerfed her. Now they put her back to pretty much where she was. So, you know, she's just got a lower base rate on her strip. I think that's about it. It's 80% instead of 100. But besides that, is she pretty much back to the way she was? I can't remember exactly, but it's back to 100% on the buff spread, which is great. And like I said, Jada is one I am absolutely excited about, and I'm really considering, you know, focusing in on her if I do pull her. But that is everything I wanted to cover. Like I said, DPS rankings, the best sustained single target and AoE, both getting a buff, just shredding out the competition. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.